voting in a time pandemic, and this is going to be done by Connie Sullivan, who's our first VP. Connie.
Voting in a time of pandemic. This is actually a presentation put together by the registrar recorder, so it's nonpartisan. If you belong to a group that's a nonpartisan group and would like to see this, we'd be happy to show it. Okay, next slide. So, as you all know, we have an election coming up in November, and here's a snapshot of it in LA County. We have 5.5 million registered voters, and all the voters will be issued a vote by mail ballot. So there's going to be approximately 2.5 million more vote by mail ballots that the registrar will be sending out and counting. There will be safe in-person vote centers that will strictly follow state and county guidelines from public health and safety officials. We're planning to have 10 days, not planning to have, they are definitely having 10 days of voting available prior to election day. So that's a total of 11 in-person voting days. And there will be vote by mail ballot drop boxes. They'll be expanded from the March primary. Next slide. So in the 10-day voting period, there are going to be 75 locations. They're going to be spread throughout the county. There will be 20 each in supervisorial districts 1 and 2, and only 10 each in our supervisorial district. And that's because we have more vote by mail voters as a proportion of our population in supervisorial district 4 and 3 than in the districts 1 and 2. So districts 3 and 4 are more used to doing vote by mail voting and not going to the polls as much. They're going to be geographically balanced. They're going to be extra large and large capacity, high visibility places. 5 of the ones I've heard of are Dodger Stadium, Bank of California soccer field, Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, Hollywood Bowl, and the Forum. That's 5, but they are holding the entire list close to the vest. I'm not even sure all 75 have been fully, contracts have been fully inked with them yet. The hours of operation will be 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Until Election Day. On Election Day, the usual 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Next slide. Then there's going to be a 5-day voting period starting on October 30th, and another 725 vote centers will open up. Again, they're going to be all over the county. There will be, starting October 5th, no, I take that back. I don't know what day. They were supposed to have a website, and they will have a website up and running, but I don't know what day that will be. Again, they'll be geographically balanced. The hours of operation from the 30th through the 2nd, October 30th through the 2nd of November, will be 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And on Election Day, the usual 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Next slide. So, vote by mail for the general election. Due to COVID, the LA County Board of Supervisors passed a motion calling for the Registrar Recorder's Office to send vote by mail ballots to all registered voters in the county. A voter must be registered by October 19th to automatically receive a vote by mail ballot. Next slide. This is what the back of the envelope for a vote by mail ballot looks like, in case you are not a vote by mail ballot voter now. This is what it looks like. There's a signature block on the lower right. You must sign it, and it's a good idea to date it also. So sign and date it down there. If someone else is returning your ballot for you, they are supposed to print their name on that top line, indicate their relationship, like neighbor, friend, husband, whatever, and sign it before turning it in. Next slide.
Before we go on, Connie, I just want to point out that the no postage necessary at the top of your ballot there, that there is no stamp, it's free. And some people have been told for some reason that if they put a stamp on that it's that it's first class and that this no postage is not first class, but this is a first class mailing. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So I don't know why that's going out, but heard it.
Well, really? You don't know why?
Well, I guess I do know why, but I can't believe the people that are telling me this. They believe that putting a stamp on makes it first class, and that the
Well,
U.S.
that'll save some money for government, so it can't hurt to put a stamp on it, but it's certainly not necessary.
Yeah.
These are what the permanent drop boxes will look like. There are going to be two kinds of drop boxes. These permanent ones that are going to be outside of libraries and civic centers and so forth are, you'll see in the next slide, they're huge. They're very secure. They've been tested against explosives, although I don't know how strong explosives, fire and liquids. So you'll be able to drop them off in one of these, or there will be less permanent ballot boxes inside civic buildings. And there's going to be a website up and running by October 5th to tell you where it'll be a geographic information systems interactive map that will tell you where the drop boxes are located. Next slide. So again, two different ways to return your vote by mail ballot. One of them is to drop it off at one of those secure boxes. Another one is to put it in the mail. Again, no postage is necessary. If your ballot is postmarked by Election Day and received within 17 days, your ballot will be accepted. So if it's postmarked by November 3rd and received by November 20th, your ballot will be counted. Next slide. And you can get a sense for how big these boxes are, because I assume that's an adult person's arm there. The vote by mail key features, there's going to be one drop-off location for every 15,000 registered voters. They're aiming for 380 to 400 locations. They will be continued, the outside permanent ones will be continued use 24-hour drop boxes, and they will be collected in the earlier days, right around October 5th, in the early part of October. They'll be collected every 72 hours, but closer to Election Day, they're going to be collected every 24 hours. Next slide. You can track your vote by mail ballot. So if you sign up at california.ballottracks.net, you can track where your ballot is and when it's been received. Next slide. So this is about in-person voting. Voters should wear a clean face covering when visiting the vote center. Election workers will be wearing protective gloves and masks. Social distancing will be strictly enforced at the check-in and voting process. The ballot marking devices will be sanitized after every voter, and gloves will be provided to voters upon request. So LA County does encourage voters to stay at home and vote using their vote by mail ballot, but if they must or would feel more comfortable going to a vote center, that's okay. And you can rest assured that they will be safe places. Next slide. So this is the important timeline. On September 24th is when they begin mailing out the sample ballots. In your sample ballot book, when you get it, they should have information about the closest 3 vote centers to your home address. On October 5th, they will mail out all of the vote by mail ballots on that day. It's also the first day that you can drop off in a drop box. And it's also the first day for in-person voting. If you want to drive to the registrar recorder in Norwalk, you can vote in person there. October 19th is the deadline for voter registration. Everybody registered by October 19th will receive a vote by mail ballot in time for the election. October 24th is when the vote centers open. They'll be open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. until Election Day, and November 3rd is Election Day. And the in-person vote centers will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And that's voting during a pandemic in a nutshell. Also, I was just on another call that reminded me the California Democratic Party is taking steps that you might be interested in. You can become a member of a voter protection team if you'd like to. If you're interested in that, the website is cadem.org, cadem.org. I put it in the chat, /vote/voter protection team. And they're going to have a voter protection team up and running, a voter hotline up and running around the state to answer questions. And if you'd like to be part of that, you can go and sign up for it. So that is what I have to say. Thank you.
There's one
I didn't hear you.
There's one question from Mayrin. Anyway, it says, don't they use the driver license signature for checking, you know, in terms of signing your vote by mail ballot? Don't they use driver licensing signature? He's asking. How do they check your signature?
Yes, they check. It's with your
DMV.
Yeah, it's your DMV. But you've also signed something when you register too. So I'm not sure it's not both of those. And I'm pretty sure it's done by a machine and not by hand. If you want to be part of the voter protection hotline, I've put the information in the chat.
Jim Bruce has a question.
Can you confirm you said they're picking up every 20? No, I said they're picking up every 72 hours. And they weren't specific about these time frames. They said in the earlier part of the vote by mail voting period, they would be picking them up every 72 hours. As we get closer to election day, they would be emptying them every 24 hours. But they weren't specific about when that 24-hour pickup date starts.
I had one thing.
Yes.
Yeah, on the voter signature, if your signature doesn't match the signature that they check it against, they will contact you and work out a way for you to make that correction.
Right up into the day before they certify the election. And the other thing is, if you leave your signature off, they will contact you because they have that tracking number at the bottom of the envelope, and they know who they sent that ballot to, and they can contact you to come and sign it as well. So you can cure those two problems.
Plus there's the link that you can check to make sure your ballot was received and counted.
Yes.
Right.
The
ballot.
Yeah, so I have that link in our voting information on our homepage if people know.
Carol asked a really important question, and I saw on the Registrar Recorder's website that they're going to start counting absentee ballots on October 20th, which is, thank you for reminding me, Carol. We're all supposed to determine our plan for voting. And my personal plan for voting is I'm going to get my vote by mail ballot, I'm going to fill it out right away, and I'm going to take it to my drop box. And I'm planning on, and the registrar is encouraging people to vote as early as possible. The party is encouraging people to vote as possible so that there's not a crush that the registrar has to deal with after election day, too long after election day, and they can certify with confidence the election in a timely manner.